2017 has come to an end, and damn, this year has flown by in the blink of an eye. Now that we're at the cusp of a new year, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all you guys that come here and watch the channel regularly. You're the reason that the channel has such a great community that just keeps growing. There's all these other channels out there on YouTube that have these really toxic communities, and what I see on this channel is quite the opposite. Just a bunch of people like me that are passionate about nerdy things. And this year I started using Twitter too. I never really used Twitter before until the very end of last year. I started using it because I knew a lot of YouTubers did it, and I'm glad I did because I've met so many of you by just being present on Twitter. YouTube has actually been a pretty big blessing in my life. I've met a couple of viewers and other content creators that have become genuine friends, people that I talk to pretty much daily. And even those of you that just come on the channel, watch a couple videos, and comment regularly, I've even gotten to know a couple of you a little bit, and when I see your names pop up, I recognize you guys. There's some of you that have been there since the beginning of the channel. So again, thank you for being such an awesome community. This has been a year of huge changes in my personal life and on YouTube. I started this year freshly engaged. We had just moved into a new house, so it was a little crazy at the beginning of the year getting videos done. If you've ever moved into a house, you know how long it takes to just get unpacked and organized, and then I had to set up this little YouTube man cave. So that took another couple of months of time and work to actually get finished. So it was really a whole process for most of the first half of the year. On top of that, the first half of the year, I was in a job that I completely hated. It had an awful schedule, which also kept me from making videos when I wanted to. And now I'm ending the year with a job that I don't hate, that gives me more time to make videos. At the beginning of the year, my daughter was just a little baby that could barely move. Now she's a full-blown toddler running around climbing everything. My son just turned 8 years old and he's grown up way too fast. And as far as the channel goes, I started with I think I was reaching almost 300 subscribers at the beginning of the year, which, I mean, it's YouTube terms, it's nothing. But that's where I was at the beginning of the year. And now we're reaching, I mean, we're almost passing 2,500 subscribers now. So that's a huge deal for me. My goal for the end of this year was actually 3,000 subscribers, but you know what? That's quite alright, because I always set my goals a bit higher than what I think is realistic, just to kind of keep me motivated to push harder. I really didn't think I was going to pass 1,000 subscribers this year, especially when I had some off moments, like whenever the hurricanes came. My carpet got flooded, so that was something I had to deal with on top of trying to get back on and make videos. So for 2018, let's go ultra and set the goal for 10,000 subscribers. But anyways, before we talk about the future of the channel and where it's headed, let's do a little Q&A real quick. Some of you sent me a couple questions, so I'm going to give you a couple answers to some of life's greatest mysteries. Alright, let's check it out. I wrote all your questions down on a piece of notebook paper. Question number 1, it looks like a Star Wars related question. Should Captain Phasma have died in the trash compactor? Movie-wise, no, because I really wanted to see more of that character, and we did get to see a little bit more in The Last Jedi. Story-wise, yeah, probably, because she fell in the trash compactor, and then shortly after, the entire Starkiller base, which is a planet, exploded. So, I don't know how she got out of there. Question number 2. What do you think of the state of YouTube and everyone making content kid-friendly crap? I think as an American we have freedom of speech and we should be able to act how we want and say what we want on YouTube. I'm going to be devil's advocate for just a quick moment. YouTube's a business, so I don't think freedom of speech really applies here because, I mean, technically we've still got freedom of speech. Just depending on what you have to say, they're going to choose whether they're going to pay you or not for it. So as a business, yes, they have every right to do that. However, the way YouTube is handling it, I think is, I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's garbage, the way they're handling it, because just from my own point of view, most of my videos are pretty tame. You know, I'll curse every once in a while, but I'm not dropping F-bombs every 2 seconds. I don't focus on gratuitous violence all the time. They're pretty tame. If you guys watched my Christmas Day unboxing video, all I did was open a couple Star Wars and PlayStation toys on front of the camera. Well, that got hit with non-advertiser friendly. So they have this algorithm set that just, it makes no sense. It's just randomly getting things, and it's hurting creators that are actually making quality content that's not offensive in any way to anybody. So while I think that YouTube should be able to go in there and keep very abusive, very controversial content for making money, and I'm talking like ISIS terrorist recruitment videos, things like that. No, of course that shouldn't make money. But the problem is, I don't think that's what YouTube's doing. And I know a lot of creators personally that have wanted to go to another website or even stop making content altogether just because they cannot rely on YouTube for making videos. Because YouTube is just, it's suffocating tons of creators out there. Great job, YouTube. You're shooting yourselves in the foot. What do you think of Disney buying Fox? I love it. Realistically, everybody knows why Disney bought Fox. They don't care about Fox. They wanted the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And X-Men alone is worth the money they paid for it. Growing up as a comic book fan, right? All these characters are in one big sandbox where they all play together. It's always been that way for decades. And seeing that replicated on the big screen has been part of the reason why the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been so successful, especially among fans myself that love watching Iron Man interacting with Captain America, or bad guys from different comic book movies plotting together. It's just, there's something about that that's so cool. And it goes right back to our childhoods where we're playing pretend with our little toys from different series that are meeting each other. X-Men and Fantastic Four are both Marvel properties. So yes, Marvel should have them back. They should be allowed to play with the other characters. And if you go back and look at the X-Men movies, I mean, I think they're kind of done, really. I mean, what other stories are they really going to go into? We've had Apocalypse, we're getting Dark Phoenix. They've even done some of the more not well-known things, like we're getting a New Mutants movie. They have a show about Legion. I think it's time that Marvel gets those characters back, reboots it completely to fit in the MCU. And there's a lot of people concerned that they're going to tone down the movies and make them kid-friendly. Disney's a business, a monster business that has this giant umbrella of other companies that they own. Their main Disney side, yes, they make kid-friendly content, but they also have other studios that they make rated R movies. They have studios that just happen to be under the Disney umbrella. Like, you know, Deadpool 3. That's probably going to be rated R, and I'm sure it's not going to have a little Walt Disney castle at the beginning. It's probably just going to be under the 20th Century Fox banner. Disney's just getting a paycheck for it. So there's no reason to think that just because Disney, the business, bought 20th Century Fox, the business, that suddenly everything's going to be Mickey Mouse kid-friendly. It doesn't make sense. If you go and look at all the companies they owned, you'd probably be surprised about some movies that you've seen that you had no idea Disney had any involvement with. Next question. Do you think Disney will be forced to play it safe with the next Star Wars film? So there's been a lot of controversy with The Last Jedi among fans. Some people like it, some people hate it. That's what it comes down to. Is Disney going to do anything about it? I don't think so. I just think to myself, well, why would they do that? The movie is making a ton of money. It's gotten good critical reviews. I mean, those are really the two checkpoints right there that movie studios care about. At the end of the day, they don't care what the old school Star Wars fans think. They don't give a shit at all. So do I think Disney's going to be forced to play it safe with the next Star Wars film? No, not at all. I think they're going to do exactly what they're doing right now. Cater to new audiences and try to sell as many toys as possible. Do you believe in aliens? Sure. I mean, it's a big universe. It makes sense, right? Why is your favorite character of The Last Jedi Rose? Fuck you. What is the first video game you played? The first. I want to go and say Mario Brothers because it's the first I remember actually loving and just being obsessed with. But the first video game I ever played, I was born in '86. The NES was brand new. I didn't get one till a couple years later down the road. But I do remember my older sisters, they were born, I mean, they were a generation behind me. So they grew up with the Atari. So I remember growing up having an Atari in the house before the Nintendo was even part of my life. Because my older sisters moved out on their own. I took the Atari for myself, so I had a bunch of games, man. So the first games that I have memories actually playing, Pitfall for Atari, I had Spider-Man for Atari, The Empire Strikes Back. Those are 3 games right there that I remember playing vividly growing up, before the Mario Brothers era. What franchises are you considering to do a timeline video on in the future? So I have this problem where I have a million ideas constantly swirling around in my head, and I just don't have enough time to do it all. I've done Zelda, I've done Castlevania, I'm doing Assassin's Creed right now. Over time, what I would like to do, and mind you, these timeline series, I do want to spread them out. When I do a timeline series, it takes months and months of work. I mean, I started posting the Assassin's Creed one now in November, It's about halfway through right now, and I started putting it together and thinking about it back in like July. So yeah, they take a long time. In the future, I'd love to do Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid. I even thought of a crazy idea where I would do a Mario timeline and just make up a bunch of shit connecting everything and just make it wild and entertaining. So I have a lot of ideas swirling around. There's a ton of them that I want to do. Realistically, what I'm probably going to do in 2018, timeline-wise, Mega Man 11's coming out. I'll probably do a Mega Man one around that time, going from the classic series all the way to X and Zero and ZX. I want to do a Metroid one too, and that's actually the one I've been the most excited to do, but I want to wait for the next Metroid Prime game so I can incorporate that in there too. So Devil May Cry is another one I want to do. I've got a paper somewhere written down where I just have a ton of ideas, and there's a million timelines on there. So if you have a big game franchise you want me to do, I probably already am planning to at some point. What series for the timeline retrospectives have been the hardest to do? I mean, to start off with, I can tell you they're all really hard for one reason. Since they take so long to do, I always run the risk of getting bored halfway through while doing them. Because, you know what, like for example, Assassin's Creed, I'm doing a little differently than Castlevania. With the Castlevania timeline, that's all I did for like 2 months, and that's all that my channel saw for like 2 months was Castlevania. Well, what if you're a viewer that doesn't care about Castlevania at all, and you're on this channel and all you're seeing is Castlevania, Castlevania, Castlevania for 2 months straight? I thought about that when I was doing the Assassin's Creed one. That's why it's taking a bit longer than Castlevania, because I'm trying to spread it out more between content. So that way, if you're on this channel and you could care less about Assassin's Creed or you really don't like it, you'll see an Assassin's Creed video pop up, but you'll know that maybe a couple days later there's going to be something else for you to watch instead of just waiting for me to finish this whole timeline series. Another reason I spread it out a little more is talking for the same thing for months and months and months and not talking about anything else, that gets boring. I mean, as a creator, you know, there's some days where I'm just like, I don't want to talk about Assassin's Creed right now. I've already talked too much about it. So I'll go and make another video. So that's a reason they're all pretty difficult to make. I gotta keep myself entertained to make sure I make an entertaining video for you guys. But as far as the timeline itself, Assassin's Creed is the hardest one. Reason being, so you've got all these games going from Assassin's Creed 1 to now we have Origins. All these games have, within the games themselves, a storyline taking place in the past and a storyline taking place in the modern times. If you go back and play the games in order of which they came out in, the modern day storyline keeps following, you know, in order. But the storyline in the past jumps around all over history. The newest game is Assassin's Creed Origins. That's the first Assassin's Creed game, technically. But in the modern day storyline within that game, it's the one that's furthest ahead. So having to take all this information and all the video footage and just cutting out all the modern day storyline to try to tell it in a chronological, historical fashion. That was my idea with the Assassin's Creed timeline. And the amount of games they have, the amount of comics they have, the live action movies, spin-offs. There's just so much stuff in that universe. It's almost equivalent to Star Wars now, how wide the Assassin's Creed universe is. Yeah, that one's the hardest by far. What is your drive/motivation to continue pumping out daily videos? Well, I don't really do daily videos, it's more like weekly videos, honestly, but first of all, I really like to do it. I love doing YouTube. Like, I've done it for, since the beginning of 2016, the beginning of last year. And it's really just, I've made it a routine as part of my life. My main motivation though, right now, I want to make it my job eventually. This is what I want to do. The way I went into YouTube when I started, I thought of it as a small business, really. I thought of it as business I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a business owner. That's even when I went to school and I graduated in small business and business management. So my main drive and motivation is to one day be able to turn this into a career. This is what I want to do. I want to make videos. I don't want to sit in an office taking phone calls. I don't want to be at a store selling things. I don't want to be an executive in a nice suit making business deals. It's not me. I don't want that. I love video games, I love movies, it's my passion, and I love creating content. And all that really comes from working several jobs that I was just really unhappy with. And when you sit down and think about it, your workplace, especially if you work full-time, 40 hours a week, that's where you spend most of your life. Really think about that. And just imagine being stuck in a job you hate that long. That really affects you. But do something you enjoy. Figure out what you love to do, and figure out how to make money from it. That's how you're going to live a happy life. Another thing that motivates me is expectations. Like any creator, you're going to go through moments where you know you need to get this video out by tomorrow, and you're sitting there and you don't feel like doing it. But you know people are expecting it and excited about it and waiting for it, so that really drives me to sit on the computer and work on my stuff. Next question. What's your favorite fruit? Oh, that's easy. I'm not sure what it's called. The fruit from the Tree of Might from Dragon Ball Z. Because when you eat it, it makes you strong. That's my favorite fruit. What is your favorite game? Oh, that's easy too. My single favorite game is Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo, the original. That game, my god, when it came out, it was like a religious experience for me. Because I grew up loving Mega Man, the old NES one, and as I grew up, Mega Man grew up with me. I was a little older when the SNES came out, and then we got Mega Man X, and I was like, damn, Mega Man's older now. He's cool. He's futuristic, in a futuristic world. And I've played that game so many freaking times. Like, I could sit there with my eyes closed and beat it in like 2 hours with 100% of the secrets. So I know where everything is, and I could replay that game over and over and over and never get tired of it. And if you click right there, you can watch my review for it. What game system do you wish you had that you don't? Short answer, Dreamcast. I loved the Dreamcast. I had that system, which there's a funny story behind it because it's so bad, and it's like I look like an asshole, but you know, I was high school, I was a kid, there was this girl that had this big crush on me, and you know, it was one of those things where, you know, you're a high school kid, you're not really taking life seriously, a girl has a crush on you, you know, you're like, okay, well, you know, let's go out. So we went on a couple of dates, and she ended up buying me a Dreamcast. And after she bought me the Dreamcast, I started playing it a lot, and I just kind of forgot about her. Every time I tell that story, I sound like an asshole, but guys, that's the truth. She bought me a Dreamcast. I started ignoring her phone calls because I really didn't like her. After a while, she just kind of stopped calling, and I was afraid to pick up the phone because I didn't want to return the Dreamcast. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. I'm not even going to try to play that off. But yeah, Dreamcast. Actually, I wish I had all my old systems back. I had everything. I had NES, Game Boy, all these games you see now that are super rare and sought after. I had those games. They were like 30 or 40 bucks, and I used to get them as gifts. I had them in the box, instruction manuals, and man, when high school came around, I was a kid. I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. PlayStation 2 was coming out, the original Xbox. We had all these new consoles. Back then, all this retro stuff, I mean, it wasn't so sought after. It wasn't so nostalgic. It was just, these are old games, I'm not going to play them anymore. So I took everything to a flea market, and I traded in. I got good money, but I used it to fund my, you know, new games, my PS2s and my GameCubes. And now, looking back as a fully grown man, I get so nostalgic watching people collect this stuff, where it makes me wish, damn, I wish I never got rid of it. So in reality, I do wish I had a Dreamcast again, but I wish I had all my old games and consoles back. It's stuff you can't really recover after all these years, especially now that everything's just so expensive to collect retro games and consoles. So yeah, that question breaks my heart. What game do you wish you never played at all because it was that bad or traumatizing? I don't know. I played a lot of shitty games, nothing that really traumatized me. You know what I wish I hadn't done, though, is watch the Star Wars Holiday Special. If there's a game series you could remove from your mind and replay, what would it be? The Mass Effect trilogy. I got obsessed with those games. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Andromeda, not that great. I still haven't finished it, but Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, I got so attached to those characters that anytime something bad happened to the character, man, if one of my characters died or something tragic happened to them in the story, ooh, man tears. I would feel that. So that, yes, that is a series I wish that if I could just erase it from my head and replay it, I would love to experience that all for the first time. What hardware manufacturer do you wish would come back? Sega. I know it's completely unrealistic, but man, if Sega made a Dreamcast 2, yeah, it would probably suck at this point, but I would get it in a heartbeat. Well, looks like that is all the questions we've got. Let's talk about the future of GamerThumbTV. I am a bit excited to talk about this because in my head, I have huge plans for the channel this next year. When I first started it, I had a 5-year plan. Year 1 was all about just finding my groove, discovering what kind of content I was good at making, you know, just giving the channel a personality and allowing it to develop. The second year, which is this year, by the way, I really wanted to focus on growing the channel as much as possible. So far, I'd say it's been pretty successful. For year 3, I want to continue doing that while at the same time doing things that'll allow me to turn it into a business eventually. Things that are gonna, like I said before, one day allow me to keep this as my main job, my main source of income. So I do plan to start a Patreon and start looking into merchandising opportunities, maybe some sponsorships. I mean, all that stuff is things that the channel needs to really grow to attain. And I understand that, but those are things that I do want to start looking at year 3. So I don't really have any specific details yet. I know the Patreon, I'm going to get that done at the beginning of the year, which I'm going to go into more detail on all that later. But for the actual content on the channel, there's going to be a lot of changes for the better. First thing I want to finish up when the new year starts is top 15 games of 2017. I was going to do top 10 lists, and I had my list written out. And I couldn't narrow it down to 10. It was such a good year for gaming, so screw it. It's going to be a top 15. I did want to post that before the new year, but I just don't have the time to finish that this week, so I'm just going to do it right at the beginning of the year. After that's posted, I want to just knock out the Assassin's Creed series. So that's going to be the month of January. It's going to be very focused on finishing the Assassin's Creed series up because it's taking a bit longer than I wanted to. I want to go ahead and start moving on to other content. Not that I'm going to rush it. It's still going to be just as quality as the other parts. The way I have it planned out, it's an 8-part series total. Part 8 ends with the whole modern day storyline. After that's done, so probably by the end of January, beginning of February sometime, I want to do kind of like a little soft reset. I'll probably take a week off or so, just putting together a Patreon, hanging out with family and friends, just playing some video games just for fun. Also, I use Windows Movie Maker. I have Adobe Premiere. I haven't really had time to mess with that and learn it. So I'll probably sit down and play with that for a bit. So just a week and a half off just to kind of recompose myself because I've been making videos since, I mean, it's been a routine since I started. There's been little tiny breaks here and there, but I mean, really since last July or so when I really started going on the Castlevania timeline, it's been pretty much non-stop work since then. So as a content creator, sometimes you have to really remind yourself to take a step back and breathe for a bit. Last year, my fiance and I went on our cruise, and during the cruise, I was even working on the Resident Evil 3 Nemesis video. It's really hard for me to step back from the channel, but after I finish Assassin's Creed timeline, I'll probably take a week and a half of just not touching anything, and then come back full force. And last year on my channel, I was trying so hard to focus on having a very organized setup. Like, I would do a video game review one week, the next week a movie review with some Let's Play sprinkled around, and that was the formula I was really trying to get with. But at the same time, that kind of prevented me from trying new things. There was a lot of content I wanted to do that I chose not to do because it didn't really fit in any specific playlist. For example, Dragon Ball Super, I've been watching that show and it's excellent, and every once in a while there's a really good episode I just wanted to like review or talk about, but I wouldn't do it because it didn't really fit like my midnight movies or my button smash playlist. I kept thinking like, well, where would I put this on my channel? So I would just not do it. And that kind of limits creativity. So as 2018 goes by, I'm not going to really get rid of any content, but I am going to try new things, experiment with new videos. If there's a new type of video I want to make, I'm just going to upload it and see how you guys like it. Let's Plays are going to become much more regular. I do want to make those part of the regular uploads because you guys have all given me really good feedback on the Let's Play videos I've done, so I know you like them. And I love to do them, so I'm going to do more of those. Game reviews and movie reviews are going to continue, but I don't know if I'm going to keep it specifically like movie review this week, game review the following week, and just keep going week by week because there's other things I'm going to want to do too. Maybe I'll do some top 10s. I'm going to do a lot less of new movies. My least viewed videos by far, by huge margin, are reviews of newer movies. For example, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 review, Ghost in the Shell, Kong Skull Island. These are movie reviews I did that really didn't get very many views at all. And that's okay, because what that tells me is that the audience on this channel doesn't necessarily care about my opinion so much on those. They're more interested when I talk about the oldies. And I prefer to talk about that stuff anyway. So I'm going to be very, very selective over the newer movies I do. You know, I'm really just going to do the really big ones, like Infinity War. I'm going to do that for sure. Any Star Wars movie that comes out. So we'll play it by ear, but, you know, if something like Kong Skull Island or Ghost in the Shell, it probably won't bother doing those. So what I want you to take out of this is while you're still going to get the same kind of content, there's going to be more of it, there's going to be some different content, and it's all going to be very fresh and unexpected. I am extremely excited to go through 2018 with all of you with this renewed energy and awesome content. Let's see where the new year takes us, and let's see if I can hit that 10,000 subscriber goal. But today is New Year's. I hope you all have fun, a safe New Year's celebration. As for me, I'm gonna go out and buy so many fireworks that I'm gonna make the Death Star look like a little bitch. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Twitter. This is Fabian. I love you guys, and I'll see you next year.